and welcome to Wellness Watch, a show that explores the nuances and the burden of illnesses and diseases on mankind and how we in India are dealing with it. Have you ever thought how would it be to live with the constant fear of forgetting things, forgetting names, misplacing things? That is what Alzheimer's does. It steals memories, confuses moments and challenges individuals and families. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia. It slowly damages memory, thinking and behavior. While Alzheimer's may erase the past, the fight against it is about protecting the present and shaping a hopeful future. Today in Wellness Watch, we discuss Alzheimer's disease and its prevention. I'm Preeti Kaur. Alzheimer's disease affects nearly 57 million people worldwide, with rates climbing as populations age. In this special report, up next, we explored the science behind Alzheimer's, how it progresses, the genetic risk factors, and also the stages from subtle memory loss to total dependence. The package highlights what prevention means today and shines light on the urgent need for support, care, and innovation in the fight against this devastating disease. Let's take a look at this report from Sujata Lochab.
Imagine waking up one day and feeling like your thoughts are hidden in a fog. A missed appointment here, a forgotten face there. Most of the time, these are harmless lapses, but sometimes this fog grows thick and one day a person can't find their way home or they forget the name of someone they've known all their life. It's a faint disturbance at once, like a ripple in calm water, but then it deepens, reshaping your world. This is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia, a progressive brain disorder that slowly erodes memory, thinking, and daily function. What really happens is proteins in the brain, amyloid and tau, begin to misfold and clump. These clumps block communication between neurons and choke off healthy brain function. The damage starts in memory centers but spreads, and stealing this ability. The damage starts in memory centers but spreads, stealing the ability to reason, talk, and eventually even recognize themselves in the mirror. Let's break it down by types. Most Alzheimer's cases come after the age of 65. This is late onset Alzheimer's. It's linked to aging, a complex mix of genes, lifestyle, and environment. About 7.4% of Indians over 60 live with dementia, with Alzheimer's causing more than half. India alone has nearly 9 million people affected, a number set to double by 2036. Then there's early onset Alzheimer's, rarer but striking younger adults, sometimes as early as their 30s or 40s. This form is often driven by inherited gene mutations. These families carry altered genes like APP or PSEN, pushing the disease decades earlier. Occasionally, no gene is found, and other factors like head trauma or inflammation may be at play. A key player in the late onset Alzheimer's risk is the APOE gene. This gene influences how well the brain clears toxic proteins and handles inflammation. Now, what causes Alzheimer's more broadly? For elders, it's aging and genetic risk, worsened by health issues like diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. Smoking, brain injuries, and poor vascular health add fuel. For younger folks, inherited mutations dominate, though lifestyle and unknown triggers can also play roles. Alzheimer's marches in stages, each taking more from the person. Early on, there are memory slips, difficulty in planning, and subtle mood changes. Then confusion deepens. Familiar faces blur, language falters, and managing daily tasks becomes struggle. Behavioral shifts and sleep problems arise. In late stages, communication fades, dependence is total. Physical abilities decline, swallowing, walking, or even sitting becomes impossible. There is no cure yet. Medications help slow symptoms and improve quality of life for a time. Promising experimental therapies targeting those protein clumps aim to slow or stop the disease progression. Prevention focuses on brain healthy habits, staying mentally and physically active, controlling blood pressure and diabetes, eating well and maintaining strong social ties and good sleep. Alzheimer's is not just a disease of memory, it is a profound loss of self, but also a call to value every mind and every moment. The battle continues because every life matters and every memory is worth fighting for. Sujata Lochap's report for DD India.
All right, so Alzheimer's disease is a progressive neurological disorder that affects the brain. It is a syndrome, a collection of signs and symptoms that affects the memory, thinking and social abilities, leading to memory loss, cognitive decline and behavioral changes. This debilitating condition primarily affects older adults and has a profound impact on both the individual and their families. Alzheimer's is currently ranked as the 7th leading cause of death and is the most common cause of dementia among older adults. In India, an estimated 3.8 million people were living with dementia in 2024, a number projected to reach 11.4 million by 2050. World Alzheimer's Day is observed on 21st of September each year to raise awareness and challenge the stigma surrounding Alzheimer's disease. Today in Wellness Watch, we look for these answers. What is Alzheimer's disease? What causes this disease? What happens when Alzheimer's worsens? Is Alzheimer's disease curable? And we also take a look at the medical advancements that have been made in India in this field. Alzheimer's treatment in India includes conventional approaches like medications to manage the symptoms, lifestyle interventions, and also biomarker tests for diagnosis. The government implements initiatives such as the National Mental Health Program and the National Program for Healthcare of the Elderly to address the mental health issues and also the other issues like dementia at various levels of healthcare. Up on your screens, we will have special hospitals or institutes which cater to this. The National Center for Aging, AIMS, Delhi. Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences, Delhi. Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh. National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, that is NIMHANS, Bengaluru. And Sri Chitra Trinol Institute in Thiruvananthapuram. All right, to help us understand dementia and also Alzheimer's better and how severe can it get for an individual, we're joined in by guest in the studio. We're joined in by Dr. M.V. Padma Srivastava, Chairman, Neurology, Paras Hospital, Gurgaon. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us this afternoon. To begin with, we've shown a detailed report to our viewers explaining what is Alzheimer's disease. But I want you to explain in very simple layman terms, what is this disease about? And when we talk of brain fog, when we talk of dementia, when we talk of Alzheimer's, are all of these the same?
That's a very good question, Preeti. Now let's start with the beginning. Everybody who forgets doesn't have a dementia. Every dementia is not Alzheimer's. So we have huge chunks of the so-called dementias which are treatable, which are reversible, which are preventable. So let's not, shift the focus entirely to a degenerative condition. Yes, Alzheimer's is the most common degenerative dementias in the world. But when you look at forgetting, now forgetfulness is just one cognitive domain. We have 6 cognitive domains which actually define our higher mental functions, which includes your executive functions, which includes your language, which includes your emotional quotient, which there are a lot of other domains which are besides memory. So memory is an integral part, and that's what sort of people would recognize. I'm forgetting, so maybe I have a dementia, or maybe I'm getting into a dementia, and that's a good thing to know. That sort of makes you aware that something is going wrong. Now there is an adage which says, people forget that they have forgotten. So a lot of people who have Alzheimer's or other types of dementias which have progressed, will actually not complain that they're forgetting anything. There is something called minimum cognitive impairment or MCI, where you still have an insight that, look, I was sharp and now I'm forgetting things. I can't put a name to a face, those kind of issues. So let's actually start off, Preeti, with, talking about when you're forgetting or when there is a cognitive issue, especially when you're talking about these issues in younger people and even in an adult. Let's not jump into Alzheimer's, because there's a whole range which are completely treatable, which are reversible. At least you can stop the progression, something which you can actually have to address before getting into Alzheimer's. And then probably we'll talk about Alzheimer's and also how to probably now look at brain health holistically and how we can actually still preserve, even if you inherit the genes, that at some point you may be developing Alzheimer's, how there is now science saying that in 33% of the cases, even if you're predisposed, you can prevent that from happening. And that's, I think, is the great news.
But then, when is it the time to see a doctor? You're saying that it is not just about memory loss. It is not just about forgetting. This is the first symptom that comes to the mind when somebody thinks of dementia or when somebody thinks of Alzheimer's. When is it the time to see a doctor? Because the way we're leading our busy, hectic lives, forgetting things, is not a very big deal for anybody of us.
Absolutely.
And also, you tell us that people who suffer with these disorders, they know that they're not forgetting. They feel they're not forgetting. So put all this together. When is it the time for a person to go to a specialist doctor to take advice and to seek
So
advice?
one is, let's start off with a younger individual or an older individual, a busy lifestyle, you have your programmed life. And then you do, most of us, at least I do, I'm sure Preeti also do it, that we actually end up having a to-do list in the morning when you wake up, because at the end of the day you may be putting half of the things you do. And that actually depends upon the kind of, the race in life that all of us are, and every one of us. That's there. So therefore, in that situation, if the forgetfulness is, it is beyond what is reasonable. Like if I'm forgetting to pay an electricity bill today, it may not be actually all that in, say, 12 big things that I need to do at the end of the day. Forgetting a car key somewhere, forgetting one socks and I can't find the other, so that may not be really pertaining to it. But if there are calculation issues, there are financial issues which you have become unaware of, when there are transactions when you are losing memory, now those are real red flags. Forgetting a very common thing, like going from one place to the other, which is the usual thing, your routine, and you're forgetting you've overshot the stay, or a stop. You didn't get out at that time, not because you're sleeping, because you've just forgotten. There are those things, and especially when the caregivers and the family feel there's something wrong. That is when actually you see, it's more often than not that your loved ones would actually recognize that there's something wrong, that this personalities change. I like to read a newspaper every day, I'm not doing it anymore. I never liked sweets, now I'm eating always sweets. Now, the personality, I was a very sedate and sort of amicable person. Now I'm angry and I'm abrupt and I'm finding faults. There's a personality change. All these are red flags, and it is just not the memory. In such a situation, the family will need to take the person and say, look, there is something happening. So in terms of vascular risk factors, there's a beautiful snippet that you had shown in the beginning, in that. So blood pressure, blood sugar, so somebody has vascular risk factors and also has these changes developing, that's again a red flag, and you have to go to a person. So obviously at a later stage, when somebody is, forgetting, your own people, and they keep repeating, you tell something, they'll ask the same thing again. After some time, they'll ask the same thing again. Repeating the same thing, forgetting the common things. It's always recent and recall which is gone, never the remote.
Is Alzheimer's or dementia always diagnosed when it has reached the extreme or the severe stage? Because what we learned from you is that change in personality traits, and also it's very difficult for a person to accept that he is going through this.
True.
One, and secondly, for the immediate family to convince the person, it is a little demotivating as well. So for a person to accept that he is going through this, till the time he goes and sees a doctor, there is a lot of time. put all this together, is Alzheimer's or dementia always diagnosed when it reaches the severe stage? Because again, as I ask you this, it is very difficult for a person to accept that he is going through this. And we often say that with time I'll change, with time it'll pass, or maybe I'm going through a difficult phase, something like that. So for a young adult, is it easily acceptable that he's going through this? No, or is it only detected, is it only diagnosed when it is in the worsened stage?
Got it, Preeti. So no, you don't have to diagnose it at the far end or when it is severe. So let's talk at the diagnostic profiles.
Yes.
So if you have somebody in the family who's already diagnosed with Alzheimer's, or you know that in the family someone did have forgetfulness, pata hai ki, in the last stages he was forget everything and he was in bed. You have that sometimes family history coming up. So when you have a family history, you're doubly cautious. Second,
is it hereditary?
A lot of it is hereditary.
Okay.
So the second important thing is that when you have some similar history, now actually I do see such cases in the clinic that people are much more aware and there is a family history, they do come and say, look, I'm forgetting, am I going into Alzheimer's? So if that is the case, you can pick it up. So there are now biomarkers which are available, which actually would sort of tell you that yes, there is probably a reason to worry that they could be going into it. They could be biomarkers in terms of, the blood. There are CSF biomarkers, which is lumbar puncture, and there are also the markers in the brain imaging. So whether it is structural like an MR, or it is more often functional MRI, like you have PET scans which are simple FDG, and then you have amyloid PET and a tau PET. So all these biomarkers are now picking up the probability that they may be getting into Alzheimer's, also picking up early Alzheimer's, and also establishing the diagnosis of Alzheimer's beyond a clinical criteria. Earlier it was just questionnaire. You would be given these things and there are certain clinical criteria which tell you. Now we do have biomarkers which pick up even before the clinical criteria, and so yes, because with the advancements now, Preeti, we are able to pick it up very early.
All right, ma'am, what is it that can be done to prevent dementia or Alzheimer's? Eating habits, diet, lifestyle which you follow, do these somewhere have a bearing on?
Excellent question. Actually, I think that's where we need to now emphasize, Preeti. Two things. There is now a mnemonic, like say for stroke, you must have heard of a mnemonic BFAST, BEFAST.
Yes.
Such a mnemonic has now come up universally called SHIELD, SHIELD. So that basically it sums up the program that we can do to prevent these things from happening. And now the science says that yes, you do this. Out of the 14 markers or the strategies which have been now designated, and these are published by Lancet Neurology, says that 33% of a chance to develop dementia is gone. And that's 1/3, I think it's humongous. So let's just take SHIELD. S is your sleep. 7 to 8 hours of sleep, ladies and gentlemen, is a necessity. Don't bargain and don't compromise. HI is head injury. Wear your helmets, don't drink and drive, don't keep looking at mobiles and drive, all your traffic rules. Every head injury, whether even if it is small, especially in young people, causes, accelerates, precipitates. E is exercise. Be physically active. You're physically active, your brain will remain healthy. L is actually skills and learning. It's a lifelong learning, and there is no age wherein you say that I will not learn anything. Even at age of 80 years, you can pick up a hobby. And D is last is diet. Yes, Mediterranean diets and all, but we have our own diets which are absolutely wonderful. Stick to this, you can prevent 1/3.
All right, we can prevent 1/3, but then is Alzheimer's gender specific also?
Well, they do say that to some extent, but I'm not going to take it as a take-home message here at all, Preeti. But I think every gender is involved here. Now, there has been a certain, over the years, there's been a gender specificity in terms of, a tilt towards one gender, but I don't think that is going to be the take-home message, because it can actually happen to anybody. the most important thing is that when you actually pick up Alzheimer's, early Alzheimer's is now, there are now chances that you can probably retard the progression to a great extent. So, over a period of almost 3 decades, when we just had about, very few oral medicines available which sort of enhance the memory. Now, you do have the foray into, you're cleaning out that amyloid, you're cleaning out tau, which you have described in your thing. Yes. So, in that you have lecanemab, donanemab, and in that instance, I think we also now, the Indian pharma is also getting into it, because most of these are extremely very costly. So, since our vision is to make healthcare optimal, available, accessible, affordable to all across, no social, economic, geographic barriers, and that's a huge vision, a great vision we have. In that, now the pharma is made a foray, both in terms of these biomarkers and also getting these these molecules, which if it comes, then it becomes much more affordable and more available to our Indian community.
All right. When you're talking of awareness, how can the immediate family members, or how can people close to the patient who's suffering from Alzheimer's, how can they handle the patient?
Right. So, when you have early Alzheimer's, the trick is to pick it up early, so that you definitely have a huge potential to stop, to reverse, to treat all, the entire, whole 9 yards are available to you. But when it is advanced and you have a person who is getting dependent, say simple things, Preeti, somebody says, is it, I didn't have breakfast, so get me breakfast. So the person says, you just had breakfast. After 5 minutes, get me breakfast. So person says, I've given you breakfast. Third time, get me breakfast. The person gets irritated.
Yes.
So that probably should not be there. The other is a correction factor. It is, night outside. It is Sunday today. Say, no, Papa, it's not Sunday. So 2 minutes later, it is Sunday. We have to go there. No, Papa, it's not Sunday. It is Monday, and I have to go for work. Few minutes later, oh, it's Sunday. I have to go there. So the guy gets, because he also has a life. But the thing is, don't correct. Just say that, yes, Papa, it is Sunday, I'll just take you out. Leave it. The guy sits down. So I think the thing is that don't keep correcting them, because they're confused. They'll say, why it is Sunday? Why is this guy saying it's not Sunday? They'll never realize it's Monday. So, you'll add to the confusion, and when you're irritated, they pick up the tone. They may not even know the words. They pick up the tone. So, they get distressed. So, I think the elderly geriatric care, or even a young person with a cognitive decline care, is a challenge. Sometimes you need to take care of the caregivers, because caregiver burnout is huge in this. In that, you have a societal, the input, and you need friends, you need family. Cannot be one man's job here.
Right. All right, when we talk of medical advancements, research and development, you've just given a hint of what all has been done here in India. I would want you to explain to our viewers what all medical advancements have been made in India with regard to this.
So, we have huge advances. I mean, this one area which has had, amazing amount of energy expenditure that the universe has put into has been these cognitive issues. And in that, we've also had a little bit of a contribution from the developing world, and in that I think India has done tremendously. If you look at, in fact, the Stanford list of all the neuroscientists, there's a whole lot that our neuroscientists, the bench work, as well as the clinicians have done in understanding as well as dealing with this. Terms of, even our systems of medicine, there's a whole lot of other systems which includes yoga, meditation, the usage of curcumin and other, the molecules, which have actually found now science and validation, and they've mostly emanated from India. I'm very proud of that. So, getting a holistic view as well as a holistic approach to diagnosing and dealing with dementias is now happening. And I think these advances, Preeti, just give a decade more. I think we will have probably, and bring in AI into that with the amount of data we have, I think we will have definitive sort of this question and this is the answer, and be able to prevent a lot of it and even treat. a lot of these
All
cognitive
right.
issues.
So for our viewers who've just joined in today, we are discussing Alzheimer's disease, and Dr. Srivastav has given us wholesome explanation of how severe it can get and what all can be done for the patient and the immediate family who are handling a patient with dementia or with Alzheimer's. We'll have a quick rapid fire question round, a kind of a myth buster round. I request Dr. Srivastav to give us very simple, crisp answers. Alzheimer's is a normal part of aging, is it?
No.
Alzheimer's only affects memory.
No.
People with Alzheimer's are not aware of what is happening, is it so?
It depends on the stage of Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's disease is not fatal.
It can be at some point of time, better not.
Prolonged exposure to aluminum products increase the risk of Alzheimer's disease.
There is some science to say that, but not always. People even without exposure can get Alzheimer's.
Trauma to the head, such as accidents, forms the basis of Alzheimer's disease.
It contributes.
All right, with that, we'll end this discussion here. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us this afternoon
Thank
on
you.
Wellness Watch. So that was a wholesome discussion with Dr. Srivastav, and we did understand that Alzheimer's is not just about loss. It is about resilience, awareness, and the strength to fight for a future without forgetting. The fight against Alzheimer's begins with awareness and ends with hope. Together, we can turn fading memories into a lasting movement. Though those with Alzheimer's might forget us, but we as a society must remember them, isn't it? On that note, we'll end this edition. Thanks for watching Wellness Watch. Bye-bye.